What if everything you believed about arguing was upside down? What if instead of proving intelligence or confidence, your urge to argue was really a quiet signal of insecurity, not power, but weakness? Today we step into the piercing mind of Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most radical thinkers in history, to uncover why he believed that constant arguing reveals fragility, not strength. And more importantly, how true strength is found in silence, self-mastery, and inner certainty. In a culture obsessed with winning debates and proving who's right, Nietzsche turned the idea on its head. To him, argument wasn't a noble pursuit of truth. It was often a mask for insecurity. He noticed that people who constantly argue are usually grasping for validation, clinging to approval, trying to shape the world outside because the world inside feels unstable. For Nietzsche, genuine strength didn't come from outshouting others. It came from the quiet, steady confidence of someone who doesn't need agreement to know who they are. Instead of chasing applause or recognition, he urged something far bolder: standing firm in your convictions, even when no one else gets it, even when you stand entirely alone. And sometimes that strength looks like walking away from an argument altogether. To see why, we need to zoom out to Nietzsche's larger view of human nature. He believed people rarely argue in pursuit of truth. More often, they argue to dominate, to protect their ego, or to cover up the fear of being wrong. At the core of most arguments, he saw a fragile self, someone who needs agreement to feel secure. But for Nietzsche, the ultimate human task was to rise above this fragility and become what he called the Overman. In his masterpiece, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche describes this higher figure not as someone who crushes opponents in debate, but as someone who transcends the entire game. The Overman doesn't waste time trying to prove himself. He's too busy becoming more. This connects directly to another piercing Nietzschean insight: resentment. He warned that many people live not by defining who they are, but by defining who they are not. Their energy is spent reacting to others rather than creating themselves. Arguing becomes their weapon. But the irony? Every word hurled in battle exposes just how chained they are to what they despise. So here's the uncomfortable question Nietzsche forces us to ask. The last time you argued, was it really about truth? Or was it about wanting to look smart, powerful, or right? Nietzsche would say this impulse is a trap, a mirror showing you your own insecurity. Strong people resist it. They pause, they reflect. They value presence over performance. But don't mistake this for passivity. Nietzsche never suggested silence in the face of real injustice. In fact, he despised empty words. He believed in action, in living with integrity that speaks louder than any argument. Because real power doesn't shout, it radiates. It's felt in the way you live, not in the way you argue. And here's the cold truth Nietzsche exposed: arguing almost never changes anyone's mind. More often, it hardens positions and deepens division. The strong, they don't argue, they embody. They live in such a way that others are drawn to follow, not because they've been persuaded, but because they've been inspired. Nietzsche once wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will often be lonely and sometimes frightened, but no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." That line hits harder than ever today. Social media has turned tiny disagreements into battlegrounds. Everyone wants to win, but almost no one stops to ask, why am I fighting? What am I trying to prove? Nietzsche drags those hidden motives into the light, and in doing so, he points us towards something higher. So what does it really mean to cultivate inner strength? The kind that doesn't flinch under challenge and doesn't need to shout in order to be heard. For Nietzsche, it begins with ruthless honesty. He believed most people live in ignorance of their true drives. Their fears, desires, and motives are buried under layers of performance and cultural conditioning. Because they don't know themselves, they're easily provoked, manipulated, and pulled into trivial battles. But those who face themselves directly, who have wrestled with their own chaos and come out stronger, those people are unshakable. They don't crumble when confronted, because their identity doesn't rest on someone else's approval. That's also why Nietzsche questioned the very nature of truth. For him, truth wasn't some eternal fact to defend an argument. It was a personal journey shaped by your values, your perspective, your becoming. If truth is personal, then why waste time forcing others into your version of it? Nietzsche urged instead, discover your truth, live it fully, and stop begging others to validate it. This is terrifying because it removes the safety net of conformity, but it's also liberating. It means you get to build your own meaning. You get to stand in it even if you stand alone. That's the path of the Overman, not blending in with the herd, but daring to carve your own way, regardless of recognition. And here's where it hits our modern world. Look at endless Twitter debates, comment section wars, or YouTube flame battles. Are they really about truth? Or are they just about being seen, being praised, being right? Almost none of them end in growth. They end in division. It's a loop, and Nietzsche wanted us to break free from it. Instead of trying to dominate others with arguments, he told us to master ourselves. That's real power. Power that doesn't need a microphone to be felt. So how do we begin? First, shift the focus. Stop chasing validation outside. Start cultivating clarity within. When you feel the urge to argue, pause. Ask, why does this matter so much to me? What am I protecting? Because the real battle isn't with them. It's with the part of you that's afraid to be wrong. Then comes humility, the courage to admit you don't have all the answers and that sometimes another perspective could actually help you grow. Not every challenge is an attack. Some are invitations. This is the crucial distinction. Nietzsche wasn't against deep conversation. He was against ego-driven combat. He valued genuine dialogue rooted in curiosity and respect. When people come together not to dominate, but to explore, that's when transformation happens. The strong still have disagreements. They just approach them differently. They don't argue to win. They listen to understand. They don't tear down another's view to validate their own. They already know who they are. That's why they remain steady even in the storm. So picture this. Someone aggressively challenges your beliefs in public. Most would react defensively, firing back. Nietzsche would say, stop, reflect, ask. Is this about truth or is this about ego? Sometimes silence carries more strength than any response. Not because you're powerless, but because you've already won the only battle that matters, the one within. That was Nietzsche's real concern. Not surface victories, but deep transformation. Not winning arguments, but transcending them. And this leads us to his radical idea of self-overcoming. Life, he argued, isn't about proving you're right. It's about continually evolving. It means confronting your flaws, questioning your assumptions, shedding your need for approval, and becoming stronger than you were yesterday. Arguments usually do the opposite. They freeze you in place, forcing you to defend who you are now. Self-overcoming, by contrast, is movement. It demands growth. And growth only begins when you stop obsessing over others and turn inward to master yourself. Nietzsche even critiqued morality itself, seeing many moral systems as tools of the weak. Born from resentment, from powerless people who needed to pull others down to feel important. In that light, arguments are just another weapon of the resentful. So how do we rise above? Through dialogue, not debate. Debate seeks victory. Dialogue seeks understanding. It's not about proving who's right, but discovering what's meaningful together. That small shift transforms conflict into connection. And it reminds us of something Nietzsche never stopped insisting on. True power doesn't scream, it listens. But Nietzsche pushed even deeper with one of his most haunting ideas, the eternal recurrence. Imagine living your life exactly as it is, again and again, forever. Every petty argument, every angry reaction, every wasted fight. Would you want to relive those, or would you wish you had chosen differently? For Nietzsche, this thought experiment was a test. Live in such a way that you'd gladly repeat it all, even the hard parts. That means choosing growth over ego battles, because life is too short to waste in empty conflict. Instead of clinging to arguments, Nietzsche challenges us to pour our energy into creating, building, loving, becoming. And at the heart of this lies Amor, Fati, the love of fate. It's the practice of embracing everything that happens, even hardship, even conflict, as fuel for growth. You don't fight life, You absorb it, you transform it. So the next time you're pulled into an argument, pause. Ask yourself, is this helping me grow, or is this just my ego clawing for control? Because Nietzsche wasn't merely criticizing arguments. He was offering a blueprint for a stronger life. Real strength isn't found in the loudest voice. It's in the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to shout. It's in choosing presence over performance, action over noise, becoming over proving. And in today's world of constant opinion sharing and endless online debates, that message matters more than ever. The loudest voices often drown out the wisest ones. But Nietzsche reminds us, you don't need to be the loudest, you just need to be the clearest. And the most powerful argument you'll ever make? Your life, not your tweets, not your clapbacks, not your well-rehearsed rebuttals, but the example you set, the way you carry yourself, the courage you show, the authenticity you embody. So here's Nietzsche's final challenge. Don't waste your life arguing with the world. Rise above it, because in the end, the people who leave the greatest mark aren't those who argued the most, but those who lived their truth the most courageously. If this made you stop and think, don't argue about it. Sit with it. Reflect and ask yourself, what would it mean to live so authentically that you never need to raise your voice again? If this message stirred something within you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone else might be walking the same silent path, waiting for a sign that they're not alone. Stay grounded, stay thoughtful, stay awake. For more deep dives into philosophy, the human experience, and timeless truths, subscribe and turn on the bell. Wander the void with wonder, question deeply, think freely. Until next time, embrace the silence and let it speak.